Very happy to have you here this morning and welcome once again to the Education Collaborative June Convening 2023. My name is Rose and I serve as the Executive Director for the Education Collaborative. Since the collaborative started in 2017, it's always an honor to welcome you here to Accra, Ghana, to share thoughtful, forward-looking conversations about higher education in Africa and the roles we play to make it stronger. It's a well-known, often repeated fact that Africa's population continues to get younger. And as universities and higher education institutions, we are at the front lines of the work to harness this incredible shift for the good of the continent and the world. Since the collaborative launched, we've been driven by the firm conviction that this effort has to be a collective one. No single organization can meaningfully address it. And as we began to engage others across the African higher education space, we found that we were not the only ones with this conviction. Many universities, tertiary institutions have and continue to participate in efforts to build coalitions and partnerships that combine different strengths towards this similar vision. However, the Education Collaborative is attempting to build a coalition at a scale that has not yet been seen on the continent. We are looking at least 140 members, influencing hundreds more, and collectively driving successful learning outcomes for at least 1 million students by 2030. As ambitious as our goals are, each year we see more evidence that it is completely within our reach as African institutions. In order to succeed, we must not only be willing to come together to share our successes, but we must also be willing to share some of our biggest failures. Surfacing, the efforts to become stronger that did not work the way we planned, and center the lessons that we take from them to do better. In doing so, we help the collaborative to grow, not from repeating the mistakes of others, but from making new ones and learning new things. That's why this year's collaborative highlights the consolidated learnings from the first phase of the Education Collaborative's runway to 2030. The research and data, the case studies, and the impact that you've seen or we have seen on students, faculty, administrators, and the institutions we live and work in. Issue number 1 of our publication on outcomes and impacts this year, you see and read stories about what's going on in your countries and in your regions with institutions that engage in the Education Collaborative. I hope that over the next several days, you will get to see, hear, and discuss these learnings. We have brought together leaders across higher education, presidents and vice chancellors, policymakers, funders, development partners, who have not only championed the work of the Education Collaborative, but in many cases, also work to help it grow and succeed. It has also become clear that as we move forward, we establish the ingredients, a certain key ingredient that will ensure a sustained connection for the collaborative, and that is trust. Success in the Education Collaborative will, at its core, be a commitment to collective success, not just individual, and bold ownership of the shared vision for Africa's young leaders. It requires that leaders and institutions act in ways that grows and sustain that trust. So I'd like to share one of my more visible examples of this in action. A journey towards trust, right, and collective commitment and action. So there's this connection that's being formed between 10 leaders of higher education institutions in 3 countries across East Africa. And I think they're a shining example of this in action. Often institutions coexist in the same neighborhoods, cities, countries, yet their staff and faculty remain disconnected, having never exchanged ideas or engaged in simple interactions. Over the last year, I have witnessed the engagement between these 10 leaders grow, from their connecting first as people and as people in East Africa, and then building on that and connecting as people in East Africa who are working to achieve one vision for the continent. Can I get away from the East African leaders who are in the room? it's a really good example of how leaders working together, connecting together, meeting, ever so often, and discussing and sharing those challenges that they're facing in their institutions, in educating the youth, in developing curriculum, in setting policies, operations, etc. It's really good to see the organic connection between these leaders as they tackle the challenges of higher education in East Africa together towards the development of the continent. The connections they've created have now expanded beyond the individual executives to their leadership teams, their faculty, their staff, and this is facilitating the group's strategy and plans for shared curriculum. They're thinking around student exchanges, shared models for leadership development, and joint research and program development. Gradually, what started as a connection between leaders is sparking a profound transformation within their respective campuses and the wider region. There's a prevailing eagerness that you can see to witness and contribute to collective change. Thank you for your example, East Africa. So as we sit in our different sessions and discussions throughout the week, we must be committed to bringing full transparency, willing to see the people in the room with us at this particular point in time, not as competitors, but as partners in the same shared effort. We must believe that the success of one will also eventually mean the success of all, as the learnings are shared and spread across our different annual programs and efforts. And it will speak of success for all. Let me share a second example. So we all agree that public universities enroll the largest percentage of students on the continent. We know that if we are truly looking at scale, we need to we need innovative ways to work within the unique structures, contexts, and constraints that public universities operate in. So this example, leaders from Kenya's Rongo University, University of Embu, along with Ghana's University of Cape Coast, and 6 public technical universities have been great exemplars in this regard, dedicating time to explore ways to apply the collective insights in their distinctive institutional structures. University of Cape Coast in Ghana, for instance, under our Systems Change Program for Employability, is taking a strong lead to determine the best way for public universities with large student numbers to build a system for career services that works. This has the potential to reach over 60,000 students in University of Cape Coast alone. So imagine how, the reach that this would have when the lessons and the learnings and the approaches are shared with other large public universities on the continent. Secondly, a unique model for soft skills development through customized soft skills centers being piloted in Addis Ababa, Tegbarade Polytechnic College, and Nefa Silk Polytechnic College in Ethiopia, and 2 of Rwanda Polytechnic's colleges is estimated to reach over 50,000 students with preparation for the job market. And more importantly, this brings a new wave of data and evidence to position the Education Collaborative as a force multiplier in employability, soft skills training, impact measurement. So let's keep these stories in mind as we progress through the week. How do we make each other stronger? How do we encourage the teams across our different universities and contexts to talk more to each other and share with each other? How do we encourage our students to do the same? If I had to share one more probable answer, one of the many probable answers, it is that we should do this by setting the examples, right? As leaders, as educators in the room, begin to break down those barriers of perceived competition and begin to work towards collaboration so that our student leaders can also see and emulate. I wish you all the very best in the sessions ahead and welcome you once again to the 2023 Education Collaborative June Convening.